Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and boy do we have some fun to be had today. Or at least I do immediately right now, and probably all of you who are watching this hopefully will be incredibly soon right after, because we're going to talk about something that just started. And if you're watching this after the fact, well, that's okay, because you can probably get in on the fun as well. And that is a new crowdfunding campaign from Crimson Steel Mechworks. Now, Crimson Steel Mechworks is one of my unholy trinity of crazy, insane modeling people that absolutely refuse to ever let me save my resin for other projects. The other two, in case you're curious, are going to be Adamant Arsenal and Piper Makes. Between the three of them, and they all have their respective genres and fields, and I think if push came to shove, all three of them could go absolutely cuckoo bonkers into other areas, but we'll try to keep them in their realms of expertise, because we don't want to plant those bugs in their heads just yet before they go off the deep end. But all three artists are just absolutely incredible when it comes to making the sheer piles of parts from a modeling perspective that you will be in seventh heaven in if you've got access to a printer. And if you don't have access to a printer, there's never not a good time to get into that. So that's something to keep in mind. And unfortunately, my printer decided it was going to absolutely crap out on me in the midst of filming this. But that's okay, because thanks to some suggestions from the lovely folks at almost all of those aforementioned artists, they've all pretty much suggested the same exact thing for me, so we will be getting back on that bandwagon very soon after. But let's talk about Crimson Steel Mechworks stuff. So, like I said, somewhat recently they had their Nyx-powered armor, which they had all sorts of interesting freebie options available, and they were crazy compatible with each other. And there wasn't just one Nyx power armor frame. We had light frames, scout frames, demolition, crusaders, heavy weapons, tac op stuff, command units, just all kinds of stuff. And the sheer variety in terms of pieces and kit bashing possibilities, these are just a couple I have. I printed an absolute pile of resin from that campaign, let me tell you. And I gave a lot of it to a certain Percival Sparkle Trout, who, maybe if we say his name enough, can summon him up like Candyman or, Bloody Mary or Beetlejuice or something, and we will produce some painted figures from him, hopefully in a similar manner, because he's got just as many, if not more. I think he does have more of that stuff than I do at this point. Anyways, these were really great for a initial crowdfunding campaign. I'm not going to say for a first offering from modeling perspective, because I know that there is a ton of stuff that Crimson Steel Mechworks has put out prior to these, but they were just an absolute joy to play around with. And not only did we get these power armor infantry, but then we got mechs to go along with them. So that was round one. Yeah, I have my poor unfinished heavy mech from the first batch here. Let me get you my sad calamity that is never going to be finished anytime soon. And it's not for lack of parts, because let me tell you, I've got everything, and I don't know where I put the connection joint for the elbows. So we just got that, not elbows, shoulder armor. And I do have the barrels that are supposed to be attached there. But there's just all kinds of crazy hard points in the chest. There's a bajillion different arms. All of the weapons can be underslung, mounted above the shoulder, on the shoulders, weapon points in lieu of arms. I don't know how many different heads. There's just a ton of options, and it's a ton of parts. And in fact, if you want to ditch the legs altogether on these, they had a hover tank option, which is someday in my plans of things to do, but we'll set you aside for the moment, because that's not even what we're going to talk about. Today, we are going to talk about something new, and we're going to talk mainly about the Demeter. And the Demeter is the newest powered armor. And I feel like we can really see that Crimson Steel Mechworks has grown both as a modeler and just in terms of the detail level that is on this thing. I love that exoskeleton kind of sticking out there. We've got all of the various joints. there, again, are going to be an absolute bog ton of parts just for these guys. I do like the fact that they were actually quite simple, if you want to keep it simple, that is, to put together. For the most part, you've got a torso, and I don't even want to guess how many varieties I've seen at this point, and a pair of legs. And knowing the evil masterminds behind Crimson Steel Mechworks, we probably can count on seeing a bunch of new stuff before the campaign ends. Here, these are nice and... No, they don't want to stand up because of the... Maybe I shouldn't have picked that torso. But again, there's all kinds of specialized torsos to begin with before we even start worrying about things like, you know, various jobs and classes and things like that. But you can see there are a variety of styles available. And for the most part, and I wish I had some handy and I don't, we have the basic arms here, which are already posed with the gun. And you basically just slide it in. It's just a single piece, which to me is absolutely fantastic. However, if you want to go kitbash crazy to your heart's content, be advised that there are everything in there of various shaped arms, hands holding guns, hands not holding guns, all kinds of extra flash to adorn your guys. I haven't seen much in the way of various shoulder pads for this level of figure yet. And I almost don't want to because I think they work great the way they are. But knowing those guys, who knows, we might end up with more stuff. And if you're curious, they're roughly about the same size as the Knicks, but, you know, they are supposed to be a rival faction, if I remember my lore correctly. So you can see they're going to fit in pretty well. And if you wanted to, let's say, use them with other games in some sort of a workshop type setting, you can see here they are profoundly larger. And one of the neat things is, if you noticed, when looking at these torsos, we have a little plug there, and that's because you don't have to necessarily even have that closed canopy. There were a multitude of heads, so you can have your pilots poking their eyeballs around, well, at least their helmets, if you were so inclined. And yeah, that is another set of torso specialization we got going on. But let's say, you know what, for some people, as much as I love the standard power infantry guys, a lot of people are in it for the mechs. And let me tell you, this time around, I want to say is even worse in that regard, because there's even more, and I'm having a hard time keeping track of them. Not only keeping track of them, but then keeping track of the parts for them. And I haven't even printed that much, because like I said, my printer died on me. So why don't we start small and we'll work our way up. So the first of the mechs that we have to look forward to with this campaign is the Athena. And the Athena is going to be considered a light mech. And if you saw my hands and I wasn't trying to reattach parts to it, you'd be seeing those air quotes, because I don't feel that the Athena is all that light in its very Metal Gear-like profile. So yeah, there is just a bunch of stuff going on. And now, one of the cool things I must add about this is almost every single mech that we have available, because of all those hard points, has a bunch of non-combatant parts too. You could, hypothetically, if you were so inclined, I guess for certain types of games you might want one, to just go full civilian work mode type. You could do it. So, like, there's just a ridiculous amount of hard points and attachments. There are various arms. I've got this one with a little claw here. There were a multitude of plug-in hands and attachments, clamps, drills, what have you. We've got a missile launcher there. We've got this front little missile launcher as well, rocket pods. We've got this grenade launcher right here. That is another hard point on the back. You can attach stuff to. And much like all of the infantry, if you wanted to pop the top, you've got the full cockpit in there. And not to even be outdone, you've got the ceiling, which I really don't care about, but I know some people are really into painting all that stuff, because I'm going to glue mine down. part fit is great considering how wonky my printer was being, and when I say wonky, I mean really wonky. Well, we started seeing stuff like this getting printed. Yeah, I don't think when it looks like a catch picture going all wavy, that's how it's supposed to look. That's just one of the things that was happening, but that's a whole different story. Anyway, so our Athena friend here has a multitude of weapon options. I went with a twin Gatling cannon and giant missile rocket pod thing. But like I said, if you wanted to go full civilian style, that is an option. I know there were like searchlight sensor things here. There's a bunch of different heads, but you know what? For some people, this might not be big enough, you know? And I understand that. I really do. I mean, it looks like a pretty darn decent support mech. And one of the things I like about these new mechs that are in this campaign versus the previous one is I feel like the profile, not to knock the first campaign's guys at all, like the Karis and the Calamity, there's a lot going on there, and there were tons and tons of parts that you really can make some interesting stuff. But I feel like between this lineup and the first one, there's a lot more difference in the profiles of the mechs to a degree, because I mean, if you really wanted to go bonkers with some of the designs, you absolutely could. So a step up from these guys, we have two different mechs. We have the Hypnos and the Apollo. Now, the Hypnos I had started to print, and you'll notice I tried to at least hollow this one out because the amount of resin I was guzzling into my printer was ridiculous. And this is going to be more of an egg one, and I feel like if you're into egg dome-shaped Lost Planet Hardballer, Hardballer was the one from Lost Planet, you definitely are going to enjoy this one. Sadly, I didn't get it finished. It's going to be a little bit smaller than the Apollo, and I apologize, a very unfinished Apollo with some parts facing the wrong way. And hopefully before the campaign ends, we will have him finished up. And you can see it's a pretty good sized mech. It is just about the same size as Bandai's new Scope Dog kits, so if that's something that you wanted, if you wanted to go all in, I have a funny feeling that there's going to be some Scope Dog themed canopies, so that might be something worth checking out there if that tickles your fancy. But yeah, getting that thing posed was a whole lot of fun, but much like the previous models, you have a ton of variety in terms of how everything goes together. I know the reactors, there's a bunch of different options there. You can see I've got the rocket pods, I've got the small launcher thingy that I can't remember on backwards. Fun stuff, but pretty good sized model. That's not all there is, though, because we do have a step up even from that, and that would be the Ares. Now, the Ares is one that I did get most printed. I don't have it really all glued together yet. Can I even fit the Ares? And one of the cool things about all these guys is they have a lot of options in terms of heavy armor, light armor, scout armor, refractive armor on them, ladders, handholds on them. We have a bunch of hard points in the front, on the sides, and I thought I had some handy because I know I printed some of the missiles that could go there, and I don't see them now, but that's okay. You can see, much like the previous mechs, if you wanted to replace the shoulder joints, I know there's plugs. You can go armless, you can go weapon mech warrior style, you can give them anime arms. You can see here I started playing around with one of the new rotary cannons that I obviously haven't glued anything onto yet. And again, much like the other mechs, we have a fully detailed, and I didn't even really do the best job supporting the insides because I didn't care. Hopefully by the time you guys get these will be fully supported as well, but look at the detail on the inside. And again, this is me just in a rush and not really bothering to support every little nook and cranny in there. There are pilots. Maybe there's pirates too, space pirates maybe. There are pilots available in their sitting positions. Whether we're going to see new pilots for these or not, I'm not sure yet, but knowing Crimson Steel Mechworks, it wouldn't surprise me. I know we had pilots from the first round who had a fully modular set of models, but if you want some dead ones or guys that have just had a hard night out on the town, those are going to be an option as well. And again, there's just so much, and this is just before we've even gotten into stretch goals or doing whatever else is coming. This is just with the initial batch of stuff. There is a ton of fun to be had here. So if this is anything, and if you're anything remotely like me and that sounds interesting to you, you've got to check this out. And to make matters even sweeter, there's going to be a bunch of freebie models available as well. I will have the links down below to those. If you don't see them right away, don't fret. It's just because I probably forgot to put them yet. So if you don't see them right away, come back and check. We will have those there. And hopefully you guys are going to enjoy the campaign as much as I am. You can pretty much guarantee I'll be there day one as well. Even though I got to get my timing right, because I know Crimson Steel Mechworks is off in the UK, whereas I am not. So other than that, fun to be getting things co-aligned. There is going to be a wonderful pile of mecha machinery and madness in terms of model parts to be had for everybody. And so if that sounds exciting to you, I know it is to me. I am absolutely looking forward to it. And hopefully I am going to see you there. So with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Or there. Either one. Bye-bye.